I was totally wrong about how the series was going to end. I thought I knew. I thought I had an idea of where it was going. And actually, I never intended to write Passion. Passion is a book that grew out of the idea of a trilogy. And eventually I realized I needed to look back and spend an entire book going through all of Lucinda's past lives. So Passion grew out of the second book, really out of Torment. It all began with a line in Genesis that talks about a group of angels who looked down from heaven, saw mortal women, and thought that they were beautiful. And scholars think that the angels were kicked out of heaven because of that love, because they placed some kind of adoration above God. And I thought that was a really beautiful, complicated, tragic beginning to a love story. And the rest of it has grown from there and surprised me very much. I didn't know anything about angels before I started writing these books, and so I did a lot of research. I happened to be taking a class about looking at the Bible as literature, and so I had a divinity scholar at my fingertips, and she was really wonderful. We had weekly meetings, and she would give me lists of books to read, and I would scare librarians because I checked out 100 books about Satan and the devil and Lucifer. But reading all of that and adding up sort of my own mythology through all of the research was the only way that I could feel confident writing about this world and these creatures that I really didn't begin knowing much about. With Passion, I had to do a lot of historical research because it spans so many different time periods and settings. And the way that I did that mostly was through literature. So I would look at favorite novels of mine, Hemingway, Bulgakov, the Victorian writers in Victorian England, and Shakespeare. That they all show up in different settings in Passion. That's how I did the research. I've started showing it to my husband first. I used to give it straight to my editor, and now my husband is a literature scholar, and he's also a writer himself, and he's very good at helping me figure out some of the problems. Most of my problems have to do with things that I think the characters would do or feel, and I'm wrong, and I need to work through it and revise it. And so I'll talk to Jason about what a character did that day when I was writing her and how this was difficult. And he helps me see a lot of ways to get around that. And after he's taken a look at it and I've thought about it some more, that's when I give it to my editor. I don't know. I can only speak for what drew me to the books, which was this one kernel in Genesis that led into a romance. I think the reason people respond to angels is because we all have access to them. There's something in our society, whether we're religious or not religious, we know what they look like, we know what they're expected to be like, and so it's a jumping off point for all of us to connect about what an angel is. My job was to decide who my angels were and make it more interesting and push some of these stereotypes outside of themselves. And that's what drew me to angels. I don't know what the next phenomenon is. When I was in Malaysia recently and they told me it's mermaids, so look out for mermaids. I think angels exist. They're in between God and mortal humans. They're sort of in an in-between place, and they are liaisons. In the same way that I think teenagers are in a liminal place in between being adults. They're not really adults, they're not really children, they're sort of something in between, that it's a very important, sometimes very uncomfortable stage. And so I think that's one of the reasons why teenagers are attracted to these kinds of stories. It's really about escape and finding something that's just accessible enough that you can latch onto it, but also exotic enough that it would be a dream come true if it happened to you. But I think there's a great amount of curiosity in teens. When they fall in love with something, they're voracious about it. They want more and more and more. I think the two greatest influences on this series are unexpected. Gabriel Garcia Marquez, 100 Years of Solitude. I think magical realism has a deep connection to paranormal fiction that's sometimes overlooked. I feel very inspired by magical realism and how it suggests a lot of things in paranormal stories. I also love The Great Gatsby. I love Fitzgerald, and I think his way of telling a doomed love story is just about perfect. I'm a consultant on the film. I'm very excited about the film. Disney's producing it, and there's a production company within them called Mayhem that is a sophisticated, edgier arm of Disney. So I think they're going to be very true to the tone and the mood that's really important to the Fallen series. I don't have to cast the film, which is a good thing. I think they're going to have a great casting director who will, I hope, pick some unknown actors who can really grow into the roles and be surprising. Thank you.